Hello, my name is Greg, and I will be instructing you in welding and cutting today. The unit of instruction is oxyacetylene safety, and my objective here is to show the proper procedure for setting up and leak testing your torch and tank setups. It's an outline to help the first-time user know the basic steps to a safe setup of a cutting torch. And with that, the equipment that we're going to need, as far as tools, we're going to need an adjustable wrench. We're going to need a tip cleaner in case the tip gets clogged. And we're going to need a striker to start the torch. First procedure that we're going to do to start setting this up is taking off the caps. Once we get the caps taken off, we can check the threads to make sure they're not stripped. I'll check and see how the acetylene's doing. You might have to tap on the edge just like a mason jar to get it loose. Okay, threads look good on that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to purge the valves to make sure there's no dirt or debris in there. Okay. Everything looks good. Now we're going to start using the regulators and hooking them up. The first one we're going to grab is the oxygen regulator. It's a high pressure regulator and it has a green hose. The green hose is there to tell you that you want to use this for the oxygen only and that you don't want to have these mixed up. And one way that you can tell is oxygen's nuts on the fittings are smooth, so you know they're right-handed threads. And the acetylene has a little notch built in the center of the fitting there, and that tells you it's a left-hand thread, so you cannot mess these up unless you try and force a threading. And we're going to start threading them up. A little bit of a trick sometimes with these, but I might have to get a different position to get this started. There we go. Now it's starting. Okay, now let's go to the acetylene. We want to check the threads on these too and make sure they're not stripped out. Otherwise they'll have to be replaced. Get this started. And I usually go hand tight. Okay, now that it's started and I got it hand tight, I'm going to tighten up the threads. I don't want to over tight. I just want to make sure that they're snug enough that they're not going to leak. Otherwise you can strip out the brass fittings in there. Okay, now that they're tight, we're going to turn the valve on slowly. With the oxygen, we want to go all the way, and we want to stand to the side so in case the manifold gives, it's not going to blow up in your face. Once we get it on, we have to go all the way with the oxygen because that's the only way the valve will stay open all the way. Now we're going to go to the acetylene. Same thing, standing to the side. We're going to open it up slow. And we're going to go 3/4 to 1.5 turns. And the reason for that is if there's an emergency where maybe the hoses catch fire or something, you want to be able to shut that off quick. So the valve will open up only with 3/4 of a turn all the way, so we don't have to go any more than that, and the safety factor plays it. Now we're going to check and see if we got power to the torch. Everything's good there. So now we're going to start leak testing. One of the things that can be very difficult to check your fittings, so a lot of times I'll take a little water, soapy water, and I'll just check the fittings around the torch tanks and make sure there's no bubbles coming out of there. If you have bubbles, you're going to have a leak. I'll check the oxygen one here, and everything looks good. Now we can check the torch head. The fittings around here, we can check the handles and everything, and as long as there's no bubbles coming out, we should be in good shape. Okay, now to check the hose. What we want to do is put it in water, there's a bucket, and just look for bubbles. So far, I see no bubbles, so this hose looks like it's in pretty good shape. As soon as I get enough of this extended, I'll set the torch to the side and finish checking the hose. Okay, no bubbles. So far, so good. The only bubbles I'm creating so far is just the stuff from my hands. But everything's checking out so far pretty good. Okay, we're almost through this. So far, so good. No leaks. Now, if I wanted to check the rest of it because it's extended, I could take the spray bottle and check. But obviously, this is a fairly new hose, so I don't feel the need to have to do that right now. So now, I guess we're set with checking for leaks. We got everything set up. When we're done, we want to take the valves up, shut them down, and take the gauges off after we bleed the torch, which is an essential thing, so that way it clears the lines of any gas or oxygen. And all we do to clear the lines when we do that is turn the acetylene on, you'll hear a slight hiss, and then when that's done hissing, you just hit the oxygen trigger, and that'll clear the hoses of all the gases and oxygen. Okay, so with this, you students should be able to recognize the proper setup and safety practices to prepare to start cutting. I will oversee the process to ensure students successfully demonstrate with proper technique and practices, and I'll evaluate your safe and complete setup with 100% accuracy.